Welcome to Bodies, Blunts, and Books. I'm Tay, and this is Em, and we're two longtime friends who love thriller novels, questionable characters, stoner tangents, and a twist we didn't see coming. Each episode, we dive into a book one section at a time.
Today, we're talking about chapters 1 through 10 of Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston. We'll give a quick recap and then get into the nail-biting details. So grab your bud, a snacky, and something to sip on because it's time to light up.
So this is our podcast. Usually we'd start with any updates here, but since this is our first official episode, we'll just introduce ourselves real quick.
I'm Em, and like the intro said, we've been friends since middle school. We actually used to write fan fiction back then. Um, I'm probably the more unhinged one of the two of us, and as the pod goes on, I'll share more stories that will illustrate that. But for now, you're just gonna have to trust me.
I'm Tay, and I'd like to specify that we were writing My Chemical Romance fanfiction. We wrote it together as well. This is not our first collab, the podcast. We have collabed before in that sense. I'm indeed more hinged than you are. But I like to live vicariously through you. Haha.
So I used to read a lot as a kid, but I fell off that train for many years in my teens and 20s. And I really hate to admit this, but my teenage stepsister recommended Verity by Colleen Hoover to me a few years back. And I added the audiobook to my phone. And then months later, when I just finally listened to it, it kind of renewed my love for fiction. So I realize that book gets a lot of criticism, but I appreciate the path it led me on. And for the last couple years, Tay and I have just been sharing thriller novel recommendations back and forth. And I had joked last summer that we should start a podcast, and Tay immediately said yes, but I just took that to mean like, oh, that would be fun instead of let's actually do it. And then months later, the topic came up again, and Tay was more firm, like, I'm really into this, let's do it. So that is how we ended up here.
I was also an avid reader as a kid, but stopped reading so much as an adult. And I finally picked up the habit again a few years ago. And I've been keeping track of what I read each year since then. I mostly read horror and thriller. And the top 3 moods that always come up on my story graph app, there's like wrap ups, and they're always dark, tense, and mysterious.
So
I
true.
don't. And then Karen Slaughter is the GOAT of thriller novels, in my opinion. And Em and I both devoured the Will Trent series specifically. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it or listened to it. Either way, we love Will Trent. It's so freaking good. Highly recommend.
If you got 6 months to a year to kill, you better start those Grant County and Will Trent books.
Grant County too, yes. Dude, I was going for so many walks and I was doing so many chores in my house because I was like, I have so much content to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
It
highly
makes
recommend.
the boring stuff better, definitely.
Yeah.
So we kind of want to just do a quick segment called Honorable Mention Books, which are books that we can't cover ourselves, but we just want to give a quick shout out to. So Tay, take it away.
Okay, I loved this prompt. So I did kind of a lot. The book that really got me back into the habit of reading, I would say, was Mexican Gothic. I had never read a Gothic novel, and so I read that one, and I love them. I bought it as soon as I finished it because I was like, oh yeah, this is a reread. And I still haven't reread it yet. There's too many books to read in the world. Mary by Nat Cassidy is my favorite horror. It's a middle-aged lady. She goes back to her hometown. She's possessed by the spirit of a serial killer. It was one of those things like he died when she was born, a la M.
Oh, wow. We'll get into that later.
There's a book called Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. Main characters, she's really neurotic, so it's hard to get into. I get it, girl, but I was a little like, oh my god. But it's one of my favorite books. I think it's like kind of thoughtful, depressing, but also very hilarious. It's about a lesbian who manages to get a job at a Catholic church. So obviously shenanigans ensue. Lastly, I love literary fiction. If the reviews are like this book was boring and nothing happened, I am probably being like, wow, I loved it. I just love reading in general. I'll read really any genre.
I did once say Gone Girl was boring and you kind of berated me. So
Did I?
That's
Did
okay.
I really?
Yeah,
I love
and
Gone Girl.
I've reread Gone Girl since, and like I agree, it's good. I don't know what I was thinking.
It's okay. I Didn't mean to berate you.
It's okay. I can take it. My honorable mention book, I just finished The Passengers by John Mars, which is part of I don't know if you call it a series or just companion books. The One is the first book. That one is about a new technology where they use your DNA to match you with your one true love. And then it follows five couples who are matched and then they each kind of go terribly wrong. It's very like a Black Mirror vibe, kinda sci-fi meets thriller, and then, specifically, I just finished The Passengers, so I was traveling to my sister's wedding, and there was all sorts of flight delays, which I cannot get into, but I ended up having to rent a car and drive from Dallas to Houston overnight to make a plane the next morning, so I'm just driving along, 10 PM in a Dallas snowstorm, which I can know how to drive in snow, but the people in Texas do not. They're not used to it. So
Literally a nightmare.
it was a
Ugh.
mess. So I'm just driving, listening to The Passengers, which takes place in the same universe as The One, but this book focuses on everyone has these self-driving cars that are supposed to be so much safer and all that. And then at the start of the book, a hacker takes control of 8 of the self-driving cars and sets them on a course to crash into each other in like 2.5 hours, and then broadcasts the whole thing all over the internet. So I'm just driving down this, like, treacherous highway listening to that. It was a surreal experience, but I did enjoy those 2 books. I haven't
Oh,
listened to or read anything else from that series, so I can only say the first 2 were good.
I think sci-fi is one of my least read ones, but I like a sci-fi. These sound good. I'm
It
into it.
depends for me. My husband loves sci-fi, so I
I
get
don't
a
love it
lot.
on that level.
I
I'm
know.
kinda
It
dumb
spills over.
sometimes.
Okay, awesome. Well, I hope we can keep doing that segment. I really like it.
Yeah, that's fun.
Let's get into the recap. So, like I said, this was chapters 1 through 10 of Anatomy of an Alibi. In these opening chapters, we focus on the events of Saturday, October 10th. Our first main character, Aubrey, helps our next main character, Camille, fabricate an elaborate out of town alibi so that Camille can move untracked by her controlling husband, Ben.
While Camille searches for proof that could trigger her prenup and get her out of her marriage, Aubrey quietly goes off script, putting a counterplan in place to protect herself. The next morning, Camille comes home to find Ben murdered and calls our final main character Hank, Ben's law partner and close friend.
Camille, as Ben's spouse, is the obvious first suspect, and Hank immediately tells the police he will represent her. Flashbacks show Camille's growing desperation, hint at Hank's possible motive, and include hidden surveillance footage suggesting Ben has a connection to Aubrey. Okay, awesome. So, before we get into the discussion, I just want to say, what do you think of the book so far?
I really like it. I have to write down all the character names because some of them seem inconsequential, but there's so many names that I'm like, well, what if they're not? And so I have to write all of them down. And there's a lot. But other than that, I think the pacing is good. I think it hasn't been slow. What do you think?
I'm with you. I like it. I think the time jumps and all the character jumps are a little bit confusing, especially if you're an audiobook listener. It's hard to just keep track of the dates, especially. But I wasn't too sure on this book. I picked it just basically because of when it was coming out and it had pretty high like anticipation rates or whatever. So it was kind of just a surprise for both of us, but so far I am enjoying it. Okay, first question. Aubrey and Camille orchestrate this complex plan involving pre purchasing a burner car, switching places, and a full day of events to create a digital trail and receipts. I think Camille's motives to be able to move about and gather intel without alerting Ben is obvious, but what do you think Aubrey's motivation is in all of this?
Yeah, I can't. As I was reading, I think I was thinking about that because we've talked about how we like to try to piece this together as we go and
Hmm.
call out like red herrings and stuff. But I kind of wasn't coming up with anything yet. It could just be me, but I will say they talked about Paul Granger, who is connected with Aubrey, and how he's in jail. So I was wondering if Ben was involved in the case. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the only kind of string we have to go off of so far. I really was questioning why Aubrey got involved in all of this. Like, did we not, like, did Camille offer her money for this whole alibi thing? It just seems like so much work to put in for Camille, who she doesn't really like owe anything to or want anything to do with. I just think Aubrey obviously has to know more than she's saying and more that
Yeah,
we've found out yet because what could be her motive?
exactly. There's something like secret going on where it's not money exchanging. It's like information or like cutting ties with things. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not sure of the motivation yet. I think that's it's going to be a twist for sure. We don't have enough threads yet, as you said. That was a
Yes,
perfect way to say it.
yet to be seen.
Hmm. On Sunday morning, Hank arrives at Ben's house to find him dead with a chest wound. He immediately takes control of the scene, assessing what has happened and advising Camille how to respond to the police. How does Hank's calm, professional demeanor affect your perception of him? Do you trust his judgment about Camille and the crime scene?
This was hard because I don't immediately distrust Hank. I'm kind of the type of person who will remain calm and pragmatic in a crisis and then freak out later. So the way he goes into autopilot, especially with his background knowledge of like police investigation from when he worked for the DA, I guess that just made sense to me that he would just kind of switch over onto autopilot.
I think so too, which is like, I could see that being a reason not to trust in those because he kind of knows how the situation is going to go, regardless of whether he committed the crime or not. He's like, so he could have set it up. In my heart, I don't feel that he is involved in that way, though. So I do agree with what you said.
I left myself a note also that also his thoughts that he doesn't think Camila's guilty led me to trust him a little bit more because unless they're trying to pull an unreliable narrator bit, which I hope not, I don't think he'd be questioning Camille's if she's guilty or not if he was guilty and he knew that, you know?
That's true. That's something that's annoying about unreliable narrators is in his thoughts that we are seeing, he's like, it couldn't be Camille. Like, why would he be thinking that if he did it?
Uh-huh. And then later he kind of questions it. Like he thinks,
Yeah.
well, of course it's not Camille, but could it be? Like,
Yeah.
so I think that's upsetting when they do an unreliable narrator like that and
Mm-hmm.
things they're thinking to themselves later don't add up. Like, why would you be lying in your own head?
Exactly. Like in Gone Girl, you're tricked because you're reading her like journal entries that she's
Mm-hmm.
purposely setting up. Like it works as a plot device there, but in this it's just like a haha psych dummy. You didn't see this
Yeah,
coming because I lied to you.
right.
Or made
Or
it
even in like
something
None of
weird.
This Is True by Lisa Jewell, where that narrator is just unreliable because she lies a lot. At least that tracks.
Yeah, and her character had this element to her where she believed her own lies. Like she
Mm-hmm.
was delusional. So it kind of
Yeah.
works there too because you're like, oh, she's Delulu.
Right. So I just think if you're gonna pull the unreliable narrator card, it better make sense.
Agreed. And so far, that wouldn't make sense. So,
Yeah. So all that is to say, I think that takes suspicion away from Hank. I think it makes him look innocent to me.
me too, but I don't think I have enough to say whether it would be the girls, though. So I don't know. The
Mm-hmm.
women. I guess they're not girls. So yeah, I'm not sure. I had a note on page 59 when they're talking about Hank and Ben. Like, they faced off in the courtroom all the time. I was like, oh, a lawyer-heated rivalry. It said they faced off in the courtroom and me prosecuting, him defending. We were evenly matched, both of us stacking up an equal number of wins and losses.
Not the heated rivalry
I
of
said,
criminal
this sounds
defense.
familiar. But that's because I'm also delusional, so I'm
Perfect.
deranged because of that show.
Okay, Camille's determination to catch Ben doing something wrong or in violation of their prenup is motivated by the fact that she won't have support from her parents if she were to leave him. There doesn't appear to be any imminent danger to Camille's life, and in theory, she could just leave him, even though it would be hard to give up her wealth and status. How do you feel about Camille's moral choices? Is she justified in setting up this big ruse to spy on her husband, or do the ends not justify the means?
Gosh, I almost feel like I get her desperation, though. Like, it is a little
Yes.
unjustified, but the kids aspect is what always freaks me out because I'm like, I would hate to be forced to have kids.
Oh,
That
I
would be a
know.
big motivator for me to do something crazy, is to not have a kid.
I think this story is an interesting take on, I guess, the typical domestic thriller kind of novel because usually the wife feels more like a victim to the husband in these kind of books. And I guess in some ways, Ben is really controlling. So I'm not trying to say Camille isn't being victimized, but I don't think her physical safety is really in danger. And ultimately, I think she could leave him without that much damage, I guess. But at the same time, I don't have any moral objections to her doing the whole switcheroo to spy on Ben because
Hmm.
she knows he's up to something shady. So she's got to
Exactly.
find out.
She's just trusting her gut. And she is in like an archaic agreement anyway, which still is a thing in the South, I feel. We're not from the South, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the vibe is, I would believe it, I guess.
And then, okay, so I had a part two to this question. Through flashbacks, we see how Camille got to where she is today. She reflects on her youthful love for Ben that probably would have fizzled out naturally, the pressure from her parents to marry him, and how she ended up this trophy wife in a life she despises. So she feels that her controlling family and societal expectations forced her into decisions that she now regrets. Does knowing Camille's backstory add sympathy for her actions?
I feel like, yeah, because again, I would feel really trapped by an agreement like that, but I still don't think I'd stay. I'd still probably try to figure something else out. I don't know. It's so hard to say because it's not real, but yeah, I get it
I
a
think I
little.
think she's justified in leaving no matter what, I
Yeah.
guess. I
Oh,
just
she's
think
justified in leaving for sure. I
yes,
do agree with that.
certainly. I don't know. I guess I just question how much of his controllingness, like, is she just placating and how much is, like, a real threat to her?
So true. Have they talked about it?
Not really. It's
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
she just kinda, like, talks about how controlling he is, how he'll notice, but there's
Yeah,
no I guess we don't know what will happen if she defies him or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
I just think it's an interesting take, like I said, because I'm used to the trope of like the husband is a murderer. So
Right. And he's not being
obviously
presented as like evil yet. Like
for sure.
annoying, yeah. The story jumps back to September 3rd when Ben comes home from an evening drunk, admits he has fucked up, and Camille discovers a note with Aubrey's name. Assuming an affair, Camille tracks Aubrey down to confront her. Aubrey denies knowing Ben personally, though she may be tied to one of his cases. How does the intensity and mistrust of this first meeting shape the dynamic between these two women? Do you think a calmer, more investigative approach could have built trust, or were they always designed to be at odds?
I really think Camille's biggest mistake, at least so far, was revealing her hand to Aubrey too quickly. Um I because now she has to trust Aubrey. Um and I think for storytelling purposes, I think the two women always kind of had to be at odds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would the story be if they weren't kind of working against each other in a way?
Mm-hmm.
So, fair enough. But I don't know. I think, like I said, this is Camille's biggest mistake. She jumped the gun and just went to go confront Aubrey instead of doing her research.
Right. Yeah. I think she's also feels in over her head, maybe. Like she's like, oh shit, what am I doing? Maybe that's kind of a vibe. I don't know.
Uh huh. I I don't know. And I guess there is always the chance that Aubrey could be lying and she, I guess, knows more about her connection to Ben than she's saying. But I think that Camille shouldn't be trusting Aubrey, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yeah, she trusted her very easily.
She didn't really have a choice because once she went to confront her at the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of showed her hand, I guess, that she was there because Ben had Aubrey's information written down. Now I don't again, what's Aubrey's deal? Because I don't know. If someone came into your work and was questioning you about this, do you think you'd really get this involved? Or would you just be like,
No.
I don't know, that's weird, leave me alone?
But I guess she is quote unquote a criminal, I guess. It's kind of weird, but to describe her that way, but she lives in like her house full of criminal housemates, so she's probably got, like, something she's trying to hide in regards to that. Or if she's or that's kind of what we're led to believe so far anyway, is my thought.
Yeah.
Because Ben is like
I want
well, he's a
more of
lawyer, so
Aubrey's backstory. Why they
me
talk
too.
about this house she lives in, but we don't really know why she's never been able to save up enough to leave. What landed her there
Yeah,
in the first place?
and they just keep bringing up more of the roommates, and I'm like, "Okay," but again, like, if these people are inconsequential and I guess if they're not, I just have to make sure to remember who's who, but and what their motive or whatever secrets are.
After dealing with the crime scene and the police, Hank goes back to his office to process. There, we find out the previous week, Ben had started the process of dissolving the law firm. Hank had only been with the firm for 2 years and was not a full partner, so this decision would have left him with nothing. Now, with Ben dead, the law firm will be passed on to Hank. How did learning this information change your perception of Hank? Do you believe this would be enough motive for him to kill Ben?
So far, no, but again, we don't know enough of him just yet.
It was a huge
Um,
bombshell, though.
yes, it was. I was like, "There's something on those documents because he wants to get at them." One of the things he mentioned was, like, the police are not allowed to look at them right off the bat. So I was like, "Okay, so he wants them."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I wrote down, I still stand by. I don't think Hank is responsible for the murder because of the inner monologue and
Mhm.
all of that. But it really does add another layer to the mystery because I do think, in some people's opinion, losing your entire business or inheriting this thriving law firm would be enough motive to murder. I also made
Mhm.
myself a note. I think Hank might be in love with Camille.
I could see that becoming a plot point. That's my theory too.
He
I
did
would
kinda
believe
talk
that.
about her like, "She's my friend, blah, blah, blah," but, like, straight guys have a hard time being friends with straight women, you know?
Yep. I feel like and I do feel like it's true in real life and does seemingly become a trope in thriller novels. So
Mhm.
that is one thing that pops up a lot. So I could see that being a plot point in this for sure.
And
I
that's
could sense
another
it.
kinda strike against Hank if he does love Camille and he stands to inherit this business. I still just don't think Hank did it. I just in my gut think at most he's a red herring, but,
Yeah. So
it
far I
definitely
agree.
it muddies the water.
Yep. Cuz maybe if he's not full on the one who did it, maybe he's involved in it somehow.
Mhm. Oh, and I guess he is involved with Eddie and Shane, the 2 roommates,
Yes.
somehow, because Ben says to them when they come to the house while Camille is spying through the spy cams, he says, "I got your name from Hank."
Oh yeah. And they're like, "We don't know him," and then gives another name, and they're like, "Still not sure, but okay."
I'm just so curious where this is all going.
I know, because I was like, "Huh, that you don't even know who hooked you 2 up." Okay. Sensing the undercurrent of distrust with Camille, Aubrey enlists her housemates to help her create a counterplan to protect herself. We meet Shane and Eddie, 2 retired car thieves who appear both in St. Francisville to copy Camille's keys and garage door opener, and then at the house when Ben is home the day before he's murdered. We also meet Serenity, a yoga teacher with an affinity for joints. We don't get more info on these housemates. Do you have any predictions about the parts they will play in this story?
I guess we kinda jumped the gun with the this question into the last one, but I don't know, I am intrigued by the housemates. Like I said, I Shane and Eddie definitely have more to tell us. Like something's going on with them. I also thought it was kind of weird how I think it's Eddie shows up in St. Francisville to meet Aubrey there at the feed lot or whatever. And then it feels like around that same time Eddie and Shane are both at the house as well. Like
Oh, yeah.
because how much time could have passed where Camille was driving home to set up all this stuff, and then Shane and Eddie are there already? I don't know. Just
Yeah, I was
are we
confused
sure
by
this
that.
timeline works?
Right? Ugh, that's
I
actually
guess
so true.
he probably just left the feedlot and went straight there, but I don't know. It
Yeah.
just kind of stuck out to me as like, hmm, drove
There's a
fast,
lot
I
of piece
guess.
Yeah, drove fast.
And then the other housemate, Serenity, I don't know. I felt like I didn't
Oh, she
understand what that scene was about with her, where she
me either.
is just smoking the joint and then passes out. I've never once passed out mid joint. Also, felt
I know, I was
unsafe.
like, this doesn't seem accurate? I don't know.
Oh, I guess.
She was
I'm sorry. I just forgot to mention too. Serenity mentions that Camille came to her yoga class twice.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's what she's there for. She's like one of the Law& and Order SVU, like, just the guy that's, like, loading up the dump truck, and they're like, "Hey, your coworker Bill, have you seen him?" And he's like, "No, man, I'm just doing my job, putting the trash in the truck." Like, that's her. Only
Yes,
she's
for sure.
passing out from a joint on the porch for some reason.
Yeah, I don't. I felt that none of the housemates could really be trusted.
Yeah, that's what we're getting so far, but I'm like, what are I haven't seen what could be the twist just yet.
Aubrey does seem to trust them, though. I mean, she's working with them.
She
She sets
does.
up their plan, but I fear for them. I think something shady is going on.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, next question. Almost everything we learn about Ben comes from other people after his death. Handsome, charming, and charismatic on the surface, but controlling and obsessive behind closed doors. How do you think this portrayal of Ben influences your sympathy for Camille, Hank, and Aubrey? Do you think he's truly as villainous as they kind of make him seem, or is the narrative shaping us to judge him before we really know him?
I feel like the narrative is trying to get us to judge him before we know him because I don't know, like he is really controlling, but he's almost like has he done anything truly bad so far? Am I forgetting?
That's kinda what I'm saying. Like, I think when I was talking about Ben and Camille's relationship, I think he's controlling. I think that's a bad sign, but
Right.
I just don't feel that he's really done anything that terrible.
Yeah, and it's like has that been
We haven't sh
escalating?
we
Like
haven't seen it, at least.
yeah, like did it start off like he would just watch her iPhone location and then it became all locations or was has he always just been like
I think she
it's just a
mentioned it did
thing?
escalate a little bit, and he kind
Okay,
of
okay.
proposed it initially as like, "You can see my location too."
Oh, right. So yeah, I think that's setting us up to have us be like skeptical of him, but like that's all
I
we've seen so far, so I'm like, wouldn't
Right,
it need to be
it's hard to
murder?
trust because
Yeah,
also one of these people could be a murderer, so
exactly. We don't know.
I wrote that in my heart, I do think Ben is a bad guy. His actions, I think, somehow contributed to his murder in some way. But I think it's suspicious how hard the book is pushing all his bad qualities on us.
Agreed. That's actually a very succinct way to put it. Two things can be true. He could have been bad and also been murdered by someone else with I don't know, I'm high. I'll read the last one. While Aubrey sits in the bar finishing out the last 30 minutes of the alibi, she meets a guy who buys her a drink and she ends up playing a flirty people watching game with him. Do you think we'll see this man again, or was his presence just there to show us that Aubrey has a playful side to her? I kind of hope we see him again. That would be fun. That was a fun little thing. But I don't know. I think it might just be like this was just an intro and she just has a playful side. But what do you think about that?
I tend to, when I'm reading or listening to these kind of like murder, thriller, mystery books, any character that's introduced, I just keep stock of, I guess, a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
so often someone who was just in the book briefly in the beginning comes back in an important way in the end.
Karen
So,
Slaughter loves that.
mhm, the last book we read, the one by Simone St. James, the
Oh,
Sundown
yeah.
Motel, kinda had that
Mm-hmm.
too, that just a small character who we kept thinking, "This person's gotta come back," and they did, of course.
Yep.
So, I do question, could this guy come back in some way? Was he maybe a plant as well? I don't know, but at the same time, I do kinda think it was just to give us this side of Aubrey that's a little more carefree and playful because her character
Mm-hmm.
is so, serious and, like, has a lot of kinda scary stuff going on, I guess.
Yeah. It could also get us to see how she can like fake it really well too. Like she
That's
was
true.
acting up, kind of like acting.
I have one more question for you. How do
Yeah.
you feel about a Negroni?
Oh my god. You would not believe how many times I meant to Google that because I keep forgetting what a Negroni is.
I've never had one myself, but I once heard someone describe them as like a gin cocktail with all of the worst parts of the fruit. Um, I'm not really sure what that
Yeah.
means. I'm not a gin drinker. I don't like gin really at all. So every time they brought it up, I was just kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I agree. I don't really like gin, and it's never sounded appealing to me, but off the top of my head, I could never remember what is actually in a Negroni. So, if you want to know, I did Google it.
I was just gonna say I'm Googling it now. Oh, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Gin,
But don't you
vermouth.
remember that one time you
Ugh.
made a cocktail with little onions in it?
Oh, of course, the Gibson Martini. That was
Yeah.
terrible too. For
Yeah, that
for
seems
any of
bad.
those of you who don't know, a Gibson Martini is a vodka martini, so vodka, vermouth, and then instead of an olive, you use a cocktail onion, and it was disgusting.
Yeah. It sounds bad.
It sounded bad, you're right.
You're brave
I
for
bought the
doing it.
cocktail onions because they were on sale, and then I was like, "What can I use these for?" So I kinda reverse engineered it, and it was
Yeah.
during the pandemic. I was
That's
bored.
true. You were bored. We were all going crazy. Were
We
the
all did
onions
things.
themselves good? The little ones? Like,
Not in a alcoholic beverage, but I think I
no.
ended up using them as, like, kinda like a pickled onion garnish on things, and they were
Ooh,
good that
yum.
way. So, they
Love
didn't go to
that.
waste.
Yeah, no, I knew they wouldn't go to waste in your home.
Cool. Well, anything else for this book? Anatomy of an Alibi. What do you think will happen? What do you hope will happen?
Maybe some more murder, but maybe not in this next chunk, but I hope well,
Ooh,
I
you
don't
think there's gonna
hope
be another murder?
that could be fun.
I didn't even consider that, but okay.
Maybe, we'll see. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if not, but I mean, maybe that would be a fun twist.
I'm excited to see where it goes. I think we left off on the big reveal that Camille was watching Ben through the security footage and he pulls up the photo of Aubrey on his computer. So it was really hard to stop after that. I wanted to just keep going. I don't usually, I race through these books, just
Mhm.
kind of my
They're
brain
easy to
candy.
race through. Mhm.
Hmm.
And I love that.
It's hard. Well, I do think we're kind of just in that opening chapter. We're getting background info and we still need more background info.
Oh, yeah.
We're missing pieces.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna get some more juicy details in the next round.
Well, that's all I have.
Me as well. Okay. That's all for chapters 1 through 10 of Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston. Next episode, we'll be sparking up a discussion on chapters 11 through 21.
Until then, may your blunts be rolled and your plots be twisted. And if you liked this episode, find us on all the social medias at Bodies, Blunts, Books. I'm Em, and this is Tay, and we are Bodies, Blunts, and Books, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.